Good morning, 7 a.m. on this Sunday morning, and we're working some new overnight details on Hurricane Irene.
We've been tracking the storm for you since really early last week. This morning, the storm is picking up speed as it lashes the Jersey shore and starts to move toward New York and New England.
You're looking at live pinpoint Doppler 12 radar right there as Rhode Island remains under a state of emergency, which the president signed off on yesterday. Right now we want to show you some live pictures in Providence. You're looking at the hurricane barrier, which in just about the last hour or so, all three gates of that hurricane barrier were put down. The Army Corps of Engineers has been working on that at the barrier pretty much all morning long. And until 11 a.m., we've learned that parts of the state are under a tornado watch this morning.
Now, the hurricane has already caused massive amounts of damage. This was the scene in Philadelphia last night after a building collapsed, trapping residents inside. Officials believe the strong winds and heavy rains from Irene are to blame.
And this was the scene last night in Pine Knoll Shore, North Carolina, where officials there are very concerned about the rising water levels from storm surges. And now all eyes are on Rhode Island waters as the storm surge closes in.
All right, here's the latest at this hour. 12 cities and towns are now ordering mandatory evacuations, mostly in coastal, low-lying areas. Just under 7,200 Rhode Island residents are currently without power, and that number continues to grow. And as we just mentioned, the Fox Point Hurricane Barrier in Providence is now closed.
Our Pinpoint weather team is helping you be storm ready throughout the day today. We begin first with meteorologist Michelle Muscatello. She's been tracking Irene all week long and has the new overnight information, the latest from the National Hurricane Center as well. Michelle?
Well, that's right, Danielle and Patrick. As this hurricane does approach the New England coastline, it has weakened a bit overnight. And let's go ahead and take a look at the satellite and the radar composite here from Hurricane Irene over the last 12 hours. You can see it just picking up forward speed. We are in those heavier rain bands. We're also starting to see some dry air wrapping all the way around to the eastern side of this storm. And it's starting to lose some of its sort of tight structure that it's had over the last couple of days. So that's a sign here as it moves into these cooler ocean waters here off of the New England coastline that it is going to expect to weaken and lose some of its tropical characteristics. But what we're seeing are the very heavy downpours. And in Rhode Island and especially Bristol County, Massachusetts, we're going to be sort of off and on with these bouts of downpours and rain coming down sideways at times. Then it may ease up. You get another band of rain move in and it picks up again. So one of the concerns here is for that tornado watch that has been issued, and we're also starting to see tropical storm force winds. At this hour, we're starting to approach high tide. We're going to be watching very closely the storm surge. It's forecasted right now to be 2 to 4 feet in Narragansett and Buzzards Bay. It's a Category 1 hurricane, 75-mile-an-hour winds, gusts to 90. Right now, it's about 100 miles south-southwest of New York City, and it's expected to travel right along the New Jersey coastline and make another landfall in western Long Island and western Connecticut later this morning and this afternoon. This is live pinpoint Doppler 12 radar. All right, the dark greens, the yellows that you see, those are where we're seeing those very heavy downpours at times. Now, you combine this heavy downpour and the waterlogged ground that we have with even tropical storm force winds. It doesn't have to be hurricane force when the ground's so saturated, but tropical storm force winds could down some trees and power lines, and that's why we're seeing and expecting to continue to see power outages in our area. Again, the rain a little spottier in some locations, but most of us dealing with this heavy rain band right now. So this is a tornado watch until 11 o'clock in the morning for the south coast. Also under the hurricane warning there, the tropical storm warning inland. I think hurricane gusts may even be a stretch at this point. Definitely some tropical storm force winds and perhaps near hurricane gusts. What we're seeing at this hour here, we're starting to see those 45, 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts in spots. And so the expectation is for the winds to continue to strengthen through the morning hours. This is CityCam. I mean, just really being impacted here by the winds. Taking a look at the hurricane barrier, which is closed now into Providence. Winds in Providence out of the east-southeast at 25 miles an hour sustained, and we are seeing those 40, 45-mile-an-hour gusts. So this is the track from the National Hurricane Center. It weakens to a tropical storm by 2 o'clock this afternoon as it moves across land through northwestern Connecticut and up into Massachusetts. From there, it will race away, and you can see that it'll be late in the day into this evening before we are free of those tropical storm force winds. So we're talking all day here with these howling winds, and with the path of the storm to our west, it does continue to push those higher waves and the swells into our coastline. And again, we're going to be watching for those tropical storm force winds and the storm surge flooding here of as much as 2 to 4 feet in the upper part of the bay. Now, these winds may be a little bit high. I'm thinking more maybe 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts here around this morning. And then as we get into the afternoon hours, we are going to see the winds even strengthen further. So this first high tide, 2 to 4 foot storm surge forecasted here through the 8 a.m. high tide. Then for this afternoon, the rain begins to taper off. We're going to have a low tide around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Winds during the time, though, will be probably at their strongest, 30 to 50 miles an hour with gusts up to 60. By this evening, we have that second high tide coming up. This is the one that may end up being more significant. Right now, we're forecasting a surge of 3 to 6 feet in Narragansett Bay and along the coastline, and as much as 4 to 7 foot storm surge in Buzzards Bay. And notice this evening, winds still very strong, gusting 50 miles an hour. So what are we talking about in terms of impact? Well, definitely large waves and some significant beach erosion, especially down along the south coast. We've got the tornado watch. We'll be keeping a close eye. I don't see any indications right now of any tornadoes developing in this particular band of rain, but it's something that we have to watch very closely. Already getting reports of trees, limbs, and wires down, the coastal flooding, and of course power outages that are expected to continue through the daytime today. And we'll just have to wait and see how long it takes for crews to get everybody back with power working properly. Back to you guys.
All right, Michelle, thank you.
We continue to track Irene this morning. We want to check on the conditions that are going on outside of our studio actually right now.
Yeah, Pete's been in the weather yard for us. Oh, he's got the umbrella out now. Rain, wind picking up out there, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. This is the heaviest downpour I've seen so far this morning, and that is very typical as these hurricanes or tropical storms approach. You get the initial bands, which tend to be periodic downpours, and then they become more frequent and they pick up in intensity. And the wind is also really picking up. So if you're out there with your umbrella today, and you'll notice that if you're holding this at the wrong angle, the umbrella may go inside out. Fortunately, this umbrella is pretty strong, but you hold it at a certain angle, it may actually try to blow out of your hand. That happened several times to me right before we came up for this live shot. Another thing we've been talking about, of course, is the saturated ground. We've had a lot of rain this past month, and it continues to rain right now. When you have that wet, loose soil, those at least those weaker trees can easily become uprooted, and also we have to watch for the possibility of down branches. But very windy out here. As you can tell, I almost lost the umbrella just now, so we'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Pete, thanks for that update. And we can tell you that the governor and other state and local officials have been keeping a close watch on Irene for us.
Another news briefing is scheduled for about 9 o'clock this morning, which we'll bring to you live to help you stay storm ready. Eyewitness News reporter Nicole Estefan is live at the EMA headquarters right now in Cranston with more pinpoint weather team coverage.
Well, good morning, Danielle and Patrick. We can tell you just in the last few minutes, really, we've seen some activity here at the Emergency Management Agency. State officials just arriving. They will discuss the state of the operations here in the state. We expect to get that update, as you mentioned, at 9 o'clock, and Eyewitness News will bring you that information live. But they've been talking about safety all week, and we're going to pan over here and take a look. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. The wind's not even at their full strength yet, and you can see these power lines waving back and forth. Now, what they're worried about is that some of those will come down, making a very dangerous situation. That's why at this point, they really prefer that you just stay home. If you don't have a reason to be out there, please don't go out onto the roadways at this point. Now, all week long, they've also been stressing preparation. Hopefully you did that at home, but we did speak with Governor Lincoln Chafee last night, and he said he's confident about what the state has done so far.
Feeling confident that we've made every preparation we can. The hurricane barrier is in good shape, and with the media's help, we spread the word that this could be very, very serious, and high winds and coastal flooding. And as I said, the mayors and town managers are out in their communities, which they know best, of course. And so we're feeling good about our preparation, and let's hope people continue to use good common sense.
Those preparations will certainly be put to the test today. Again, we expect to have an update at 9 a.m. Eyewitness News will bring you that information live. We are live in Cranston with the mobile newsroom. Nicole Estefan, Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Remember, WPRI.com is constantly updating the very latest on Irene. If you happen to lose power, we'll be live streaming all day long. You can also find updates on the storm's track Plus, check on school closings and parking ban information. And we have photo galleries showing the effects of the storm here in southern New England and down the entire eastern seaboard. You can also send us pictures or video showing us your view of Irene. This shot sent to us by Eyewitness News reporter Walt Buteau. This is the scene in Narragansett this morning. Here you can see the Town Beach parking lot is now covered, or at least most of it now covered with water as that storm surge starts to come on shore now as we're getting closer to high tide, the first high tide of the day. If you can safely take pictures or video of the storm, you can email them to us at reported@wpri.com. You can also use the Reported app on your iPhone or Android smartphones. We might use your pictures and video on air or post them online.
It is now 75 degrees at 7:10. Much more local coverage of Irene still ahead.
The latest on how the storm is affecting some Massachusetts communities. We'll have a live report from Westport.
And looking live at Belmar, New Jersey, look at the waves crashing on the shoreline there in New Jersey as you're watching a special edition of Eyewitness News this morning on WPRI 12.